The next session is going to be a pertinent and informative interview with Ms. Marine Havel, who is experiencing the effects of long COVID. Mr. Peter Mabbutt and Datin Dr. Thema will moderate this interview. Before we begin though, I would like to introduce both our moderators. Mr. Mabbutt is the president of the British Society of Clinical Hypnosis and is a fellow of the National Council of Psychotherapists. He is also the head of academics for the LSCCH in the UK and LCCH Asia. He has been practicing and teaching hypnotherapy since the mid-1990s, working with all aspects of hypnotherapy with particular interest in pain management, trauma, the mind-body connection, and the often overlooked psychological challenges faced by men. He has also developed many courses for clinical hypnotherapy in universities around the world and has been instrumental in setting up pain management clinics and research centers in Malaysia. On the other hand, Datin Dr. Thema Abdul Majid is the Vice President of the Malaysian Society of Clinical Hypnosis and the Medical Director at LCCH Asia. Dr. Thema has an extensive experience working in the mental health field, specializing in managing depression, addiction, PTSD, anxiety, and stress, both from her years in medical practice in the psychiatry department and as a clinical hypnotherapist. She is now spearheading the Psychological First Aid Task Force for Frontliners, which requires a deep understanding of the mental health consequences of working during the pandemic. Dr. Thema is also a lecturer with LCCH and a consultant hypnotherapist at the LSCCH Therapy Center and has been providing therapy for both corporate and individual clients during the pandemic. And together, Mr. Mabbutt and Datin Dr. Thema with Ms. Havel will be discussing living with long COVID on the therapist's couch. Take it away.
Thank you, everyone. And first things first, Marine, welcome to our conference. And I know you're way away in America and it's very early in the morning for you. So very, very big thank you for coming online to share with us. But before we start talking, I just want to say, or let people know that it's a very salutary thing to realize that having COVID is not going to be the be all and end all of it. It doesn't just come and go away. For many, unfortunately, and Marine is living testament to this, it's a long-term chronic experience. Long COVID, as this is called, or I think in France they call it long tail COVID, has become a recognized, very much a recognized syndrome with very distinct features that many people have yet to grasp the reality of. And we don't know who is at risk of developing it, nor do we know how long it lasts. And also, we still realize that its symptoms are still being categorized. What's more, we're only just starting to come to terms with developing effective approaches to treating it at both the medical, physical, and of course, the psychological levels. Statistics that have been released this past week by the UK government have shown that currently there are about 1.1 million people in the UK suffering from long COVID. Nearly 700,000 of these have had the condition for up to 12 weeks, and that 70,000 have had it for a year. And of course, these numbers are going to go up as people start being diagnosed with long COVID, depending on when they originally contracted COVID. And I doubt the UK is alone in this experience. Without doubt, we as therapists will be presented with clients who are experiencing long COVID, who are also seeking treatment to help manage and to overcome its effects. And so to help us get this understanding of what we're likely to encounter in our therapy rooms, Dr. Thema and I have invited Marine to come on board with us. She is living with long COVID and she's very kindly agreed to share her experience of COVID and perhaps her hopes and expectations of what help she would like to receive from the therapeutic community. So once again, Marine, welcome.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you, everyone. I'm really happy, honored to be kind of a voice for all the women, men, and unfortunately kids who are still living with COVID long-term symptoms. I was, it was in March 2020 that I fell not like many people. The first week was, fever, a huge fatigue. And then after, when the second week started, that's when everything was in full force. I was breathless. I was on the verge of being hospitalized. And the US system, I tried to avoid that as much as I could. um, so I'm lucky. I'm kind of the I'm part of those lucky ones who didn't have to experience the hospital stay. But like many other people, I was not listened to. I was not believed. I didn't feel the compassion you were talking about just a few minutes ago. And that's the most difficult thing when you're experimenting symptoms, is when you're not believed. First, it was by the GP, because that's the first person that we're talking with. And after that, it's everyone, all the people we're supposed to see, because I was breathless, so I had to do some exams to double check that everything was okay, etc., etc., etc. So because I couldn't find answers with the medical team, I went to forums, and I've seen countless of, especially women in their 40s, very healthy, like I was, working out with a good diet. We were doing everything we could to be healthy, meditation, yoga, everything. Still, we were like, ghosts of what we used to be before, because the biggest symptoms we were all sharing was that extreme and sudden fatigue. Suddenly, we couldn't do anything at all. We had to lay down, etc. Fatigue, migraines, and of course, because a lot of women have migraines, a lot of doctors are also minimizing the importance of that. And the third biggest one for me was that brain fog, the impossibility to think, to read. I was confused. I had to just stop thinking about something because I was going to make the wrong decision. It's still going on. Hopefully less and less, but because I'm very optimistic. But I had waves, like you said. Sometimes it's how to say that, and there's no reason. I try to have patterns. I have apps, I have journals to see what's going on. If it's because I was trying to work out, I couldn't work out for a year almost. Walking was very difficult because I was breathless. I was making fun with my sister that I was trying to make happy all the person in my neighborhood because I was super slow when I tried to be outside, etc., etc. So that's the most lingering symptoms, and that's what I saw on forums. So I was lucky once because of in the US systems, the insurance companies are very tough, and you're supposed to stay in network, but every year your GP might be in or out of network. So my luck was my previous GP was suddenly out of network, so I had to find somebody else, and that somebody else finally listened to me and didn't believe that I was either depressed or blah, 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 blah. So she really listened to my symptoms, and she tried everything. And what worked for me, it's still not 100% perfect, but what works for me, it's a medication for people with ADHD, because it's apparently mimic the same symptoms, the brain fog, the confusion, sometimes the fatigue, etc., etc. So it really helped me from, in January, February, I was on the verge of quitting everything. I was not sure I would be able to work anymore. I'm in charge of, organization nonprofits here in the US. I was launching a worldwide network, and I thought that I would not be able to do that. And with that medication, it was okay. I tried to see a therapist here for another reason, not because of COVID, because I didn't feel, anything like depression. But the questionnaire, the survey that I had to fill at first for something else, all the question, yes, I was answering yes, but because it mimics as well that the long-term COVID symptoms mimic depression signs. So that would be my recommendation. Let's try to see before we give a lot of medication, etc. Let's try to see if it's not simply because of those long-term symptoms. Let's try to believe the person saying, no, I'm not depressed. It's just, I need something, but it's not working. We need help. We need help. We need everyone on board. We need the GP. We need you. We need even, if we need a neurologist or anybody who will be able to answer your symptoms. Some people are more, I would say it's brain, heart, and lungs. So depending, if each person will have symptoms more or less intense, but those three components are what is usually what we see on those forums with long-term COVID patients. So yes, let's get together with the other professions, medical profession. I'm seeing like rehab center where all those professions are together. I know it's very time consuming. I know that you're overwhelmed because you're seeing a lot of people, not only, patients, sick people, but also all those who are suffering from, I see kids out of school that are really, really suffering. And thank you for all the help you're providing to those kids, teens that I'm working with daily. So yes, that would be ideal, is to talk with the other professions, because it's a very holistic sickness, I would say. So we need a holistic approach for that.
It's a question I've got for you. When you obviously contracted COVID, how bad did you get COVID? How bad was the actual COVID for you?
So the first week I was just experimenting fever, fatigue, but not that much. It was not as crazy as it started after that. At the end of the first week, beginning of second week, that's when I started to be breathless. I was not breathing okay. And that's why I was thinking about, at the last resort, going to the hospital. I'm lucky because my sister is a nurse in the French system. So she right away gave me all those exercises, breathe exercises that I was able to do myself, and it helped tremendously. So I was not, super, super sick like many people were, especially at the time. But yes, I was really thinking about going to the hospital. I had antibiotics. I had to force my GP to give me the antibiotics and avoid things to get worse. So yeah, the second week was really tough. And after that, started the process of, getting out of the woods, but still struggling with daily migraines. I was noise and light sensitive. Like I couldn't get out of my bedroom. I had earplugs all the time, because even when my kids or my husband were trying to talk to me, it was painful. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't talk. I couldn't, etc., etc.
So Maureen, hi, Tema here. I just want to find out, after you contracted COVID, and you said then you were out of the woods, you're feeling a little better. So was there any time during the whole period of you being ill, was there a time when you felt a little better? and then it started to become worse again. Were there periods when you would get better and then worse?
Yes, all the time. At first, every time I wanted to get out, take some sun, walk, because I mean, for me, it was really important to exercise. I was not used to not exercise, and I know how good it was for everything else. And every time I went out, every time I was literally, that's what I was saying, paying the price for 2, 3, 4 days. After that, I had to lay down every time I was out of the house. Even just 10, 20 minutes, nothing really physically intense. And yes, it was all the time struggling with those waves of migraines, brain fog, fatigue, breathlessness too. When I tried to exercise, I was pushed by a doctor here saying that I had to push myself. I had to push myself. I had to get out. But every time I was even sicker and sicker. So at some point, I just listened to my body, and I just, did nothing for a while. I would say for weeks, and I was feeling better. And then summer arrived. So I was sick in March. So summer arrived. I tried to have a week off, and be. I'm close. I'm in Philadelphia, so I'm close to the shore. And a friend of mine gave me his house for a week, and I was able, to breathe. I'm from Brittany, so I need fresh air. I need the sea air, and I was not getting better. I was not getting better because I tried to walk. I tried to be on the beach, just walking, just trying to swim a little bit. And after that, for 2 months, I was really fatigued just because of 1 week. So September, October was okay, November. And then December, January, March, again, super fatigue, really, really, everything was really difficult. Migraines were every day. The brain fog was still here. The fatigue, again, come and goes. Every time I tried to get out, every time I tried to walk, I would be really not well for 2 or 3 days after that.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to ask a little bit more about the brain fog. Can you describe it a little bit more as to how you experienced it? I mean, pre-COVID, post-COVID, you've experienced this new symptom that I'm sure you had not experienced before. So maybe you can give us a little bit of insight as to how it started and how you started feeling. What was the emotions that were going through you while you were experiencing this fuzziness or brain fog?
Yeah, so before COVID, I was always very, intensely involved in everything. I was 200% on everything. I was thinking fast. I could do many things in my day, on top of being a mom, on top of, taking care of everything. I have, a very demanding job. I was also very involved in my community, etc., etc. And suddenly, with that brain fog, I couldn't decide. I couldn't do anything. It was like, those sumo inflating costume that some of the kids are using. It's like having that in my brain. It was, something else. I couldn't go through that inflatable stuff suit. It was, everything was super difficult. Everything was starting a migraine, etc., etc. So yes, the fact that I could not decide as fast and as easily as before was, I had to think twice, 3 times about what I was doing to be sure that I was okay. Yes, it's a fog. It's really like being in a fog, but it's the brain that can't decide.
One of the things that many people here will be working with, obviously, will be emotions. So what range of emotions were you experiencing? You were a highly functioning person before COVID. You then get COVID, and we know that with long COVID, it does create problems with emotions. What emotions have you been experiencing?
frustration a lot. um, I would say, I'm always very optimistic. So my thought was focusing on the after. And I was reading a lot about people, here in the US, we have a lot of Lyme disease, chronic fatigue symptoms, etc. And I was also reading somebody who had an experience with a SARS virus 3 or 4 years ago. And she told the community that she was better. So for me, it was just waiting, being patient, which I'm not. I was not before. I was definitely not. Yeah, frustration was really what I was experiencing. And I was afraid sometimes. At some point, I had to deal with a very personal situation in my family with my kids. And I knew that I was not able to deal with that. So I seek help. And one of you here helped me a lot. She was wonderful. And that's all I needed. Um, and so yeah, I've never really felt depressed and I know the feeling. I know I lost my mom when I was 18, so I had a bout of depression, so I know all about that. It was completely different. It's just that's like I said, I was in a sumo suit. I couldn't work out, I couldn't think, and I was not used to that. So it's for me it was that, but I know a lot of long-term patients were really struggling. They were really afraid, especially in the French community, which I don't understand because they had everything. They had time off, paid time off. They were not losing their job. While here, people were losing their jobs because they couldn't function, they couldn't work. And the US system, it's awful on that level. And I was not afraid for my job. I thought at some point I would have to quit if I was not getting better in January or February. So I was happy to try again and find the good GP, and yes, it worked. So now I'm out of it. I'm good. No, yes, I think it's for the other community. The rest of the community, I'm pretty sure many are feeling symptoms of depression because they're desperate. They don't know if it's going to be okay at some point. If they're not optimistic at first, I'm sure it's easy to go down that hole. But again, they need to be believed. They need compassion.
We've only got about 2 more minutes before we're opening up to the rest of the audience. Dr. Thamer, have you got anything else you'd like to ask Maureen?
Yes, just one last question from me. What kind of help do you think would have been relevant in the initial stages of having long COVID from the therapeutic community? If you could rewind back and go back in time, what kind of help do you think would have been very beneficial to yourself and those who are going through similar symptoms as you?
So again, I know that you're overwhelmed, and you were overwhelmed right at the go when everything started. So working together with other GP, etc., to talk to those GP that yes, you should believe those patients. They need to be believed, because otherwise that's when everything starts to fall. I would say emotionally for a lot of people, and try to work on online solution, short CBD solutions to really tackle things before it goes worse. So I know that you're all experts on online sessions. I have an app that I found. I'm very curious about everything. I need to tell you. So I found an app. Maybe it will make you scream. I don't know. Mabbutt. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. Woebot. It was a Stanford Department of Psychology who created that. So it's a bot. It's an app with a bot, but it was pretty well conceived to give you some exercises to deal with anxiety, or just to calm down a little bit. I think having those tools just to cover when you can't go further for you as therapists, and just give some tools at first for people so they can wait and have a proper advice and therapy, etc. I think that's tool that we should provide to everyone in terms of crisis, in time of crisis. I mean, I don't want to go go far, but I think that would be very helpful, because the community is not enough to deal with the number of people who need support right now. There's a lot of people struggling, and you know that better than me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is, I think, going to be fielding questions.
Hi. Okay, I'm just going to facilitate by posting some of the questions. First and foremost, we are glad that you've made it out of that, and we know that there's still a long journey. So everyone's praying for your full recovery. And thank you for sharing that with us, because I think some of our participants are saying that many of their friends and family is also going through very similar situations. And I think we had one who said that it was exactly what their own friend had experienced. So it was, kind of relieving to hear that that this seems to be, you're not alone. So I think we would also like to know, how did your family cope with this condition? Because I'm quite sure that your family is also, yeah.
So again, I'm one of the lucky ones. I have a wonderful husband. I have amazing kids who are old enough. My first kid is almost 16. My second one is just turned 14. So, and I was, they were able to cook themselves. I was able to just, have everything delivered at home. My husband was doing a lot. The main thing is they got sick themselves. They didn't tell me at first. My husband didn't tell me at first. My son was having symptoms a week after us. So they knew what I was going through, because even though they had the mildest version of it, they did experiment the fatigue, the breathlessness, the fever, the brain fog. And unfortunately, my son is still struggling with that. For my oldest one, I'm pretty sure they had it, but they never really showed any symptoms. And I use the pronoun they because they're non-binary kids. So everybody had a different version of it, but I think most of them, and they knew. So they knew, and we're a very nucleus family because we live abroad. It's just the four of us, mostly. And I mean, it's a family with a lot of love, and we communicate a lot, and so it was easy. But yes, I've seen countless of families exploding because of that. A lot of women not believed by their husband, struggling. We know, all the statistics about domestic violence. I've seen signs on those forums. When again, I was very surprised. It was mostly women in their 40s, So yes, the fact that I had such a tremendous support with my family, my own family, was enormous. My sisters giving me those breathless exercises, and I'll try to find the link. It's 2 videos that I have, and I'll give them to Peter. I saw that in the chat. I'm gonna give you that. It's very helpful. I'm a big believer in breathing, so yes, that's something I can give you, and the Mabbutt app as well. I'm sure that maybe there's something better, but I think it's pretty well done now. So all that was a very good support.
Yeah, actually, that was going to be the next thing, about the breathing. But I think thank you so much for offering to share that link as well. And I think you mentioned the tool that you used. Yes. You've done a lot of research into that and the tool. And I guess it's for us to think how we can support not only the patients but the family, because someone's mentioned here as well that you said about how you were affected because you became fatigued, and that would also affect your children, having to see mom not being able to function as usual. So I guess there's a lot. It's not just the patient, it's your friends and your family as well. And yeah, so I think, and so I think there was some queries about the breathing, which we've you're going to share the link. Yes.
Sorry, I'm seeing that my kid, the second one is still not 100%. He cannot go and work out. He tried, for example, to go back to sports when everything was possible again. And it's just not possible for him now. So we're trying to get there step by step. It was virtual school for more than a year, since March 12, 2020. So he's just starting to get out now. But yes, and it's. I mean, I worry more about him than me, of course, as a mom. So yes, be sure to listen to those kids, even though a lot of them are not diagnosed because of the symptoms were not very. I mean, they were mild in my son's case. And brain fog, fatigue. You would say, oh, he's a teen, maybe he's just grumpy or whatever. So yes, double check if the parents had the symptoms and were diagnosed, double check with the kids too.
Yeah, so it's easily missed because we may misread the,
Yeah, exactly. And I'm seeing a lot of teens going to CHOP. It's a very good hospital here because of cardiac problems. They were not diagnosed. They were not officially diagnosed as COVID long-term patients. But for kids who were athletes, here it's sacred. Sport is, wow, it's huge. In school, they give almost more money for the coach and the athletes than for the regular lessons. So it's huge here, and they're athletes. I mean, they're doing that all the time. And I've seen many families around here where the kids are not able to do it like they were, I mean, at the level they were before, but they were not diagnosed.
Okay, I think that's all the questions from us. I think I represent the participants in sending you all our love and hug and all the best to you.
I feel it already. Thank you so much, and thank you for what you're doing with all your patients, with all everybody around you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I know it's very early in the morning there in US where you are. So thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Ms. Havel, for informing us on the long-term impacts of this pandemic and how we need to better prepare ourselves to tackle these situations in the future. Thank you, Mr. Mabbutt and Dr. Tema, for moderating that very well too. What we gained here is going to be very helpful in helping us becoming more compassionate and empathetic towards the people in our lives who are going through similar experiences. And with that, we are going to take a short 10-minute break, and we will be back in time for our final session. And I would greatly appreciate everyone's punctuality once again.